Radio.
Hey, welcome everybody. We're back. It's Svelte Radio. Are you excited? Yes, of course. Yeah, everyone's excited. Who isn't? I'm here with my beautiful co-host Brittany, and today I have an announcement. Jeppe, from a couple of episodes ago, I think, is joining us as a host on Svelte Radio. Welcome, Jeppe.
Amazing. Yeah. I love being here, so I'm super happy to now be here on a more permanent basis.
From guest to host in no floods time.
Only upwards.
We're happy to have more people rotating.
Yes. And we also have a guest. There's so many new people here today. It's crazy. Paolo, welcome.
Yeah. Hi.
So, and Paolo, you're a Svelte maintainer. Yes. People can find you everywhere in the Svelte world, I think.
Yeah, I used to joke that if it has the word Svelte on it, I'm probably involved in some way.
Yeah. All right, so today we are going to talk about Svelte custom renderers. Yeah. Is that what you call them?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, Paolo, you've made like a proof of concept of a custom renderer and stuff. So there's all sorts of fun things to talk about here. But maybe before we start, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into Svelte? I think we've done this once before for Svelte Lab,
probably
like way back. But let's hear a refresher.
To refresh. So I am Paolo Ricciuti. I come from Campobasso, Italy, which is a very small city, very small and cold city in Italy. I'm, as you said, I'm a Svelte maintainer. So I was previously a Svelte ambassador. I'm still a Svelte ambassador in the heart. So I will continue to say that I'm a Svelte ambassador. But I've also joined the core team, I think, it's been 6-7 months now. And I work for Mainmatter. Which is a consultancy. We specialize in Svelte and also Rust and like all this difficult stuff.
How is being a core maintainer? What have you worked on?
I did a bunch of small bug fixes overall. I also worked, I have a PR open to the on-change, you can add an on-change prop to state. It's been stale for a while, so I don't know if we will ever get to merge. But
so what does that actually mean? On-change states?
Basically, a way to when you declare your state, you can add an on-change property as the second.
Okay, so just like an event, basically.
Yeah, it's basically
pass a callback.
But basically, it's a bit different from an effect, from the fact that first thing first is sync, so it's not delayed after a microtask, and also in general it's a bit less it doesn't rerun whenever some dependency inside reruns, so it's a bit more constrained, but it could be very well used to do stuff like synchronize with local storage or stuff like that without using an effect. So
okay, nice.
That probably is my biggest PR. I also did some other decent nice feature, I think I've implemented the from action utility, and I've also added one of my achievement unlock was I've added a compiler option, which we will talk about in a second. So.
All right, but we're not here to talk about all your other PRs, right? We're here to talk about maybe an upcoming one. So let's dive into custom renderers. Well, why should we care?
Yeah. Okay. So a custom renderer is basically it's a way to render Svelte to something that is not the DOM. I think initially, I'm pretty sure that React was the first one. I mean, React. The concept of React. Is based on custom renderers, basically, because I hope that you don't have to know, but unfortunately, I know that when you start a React project, you install both React and React DOM. And the reason for that is because you are basically, React doesn't concern itself with DOM at all. So the only thing that React does, React is basically a diffing library. So like it's just saying, okay, I have this huge tree of objects, which is the virtual DOM. And then I just say, okay, I need to change this thing. So I invoke the custom renderer to say, please update the text, or please like insert this element as a children of this element. And so like React is the diffing library. And then when you install React DOM is what is actually writing to the DOM. And the power that this gave to React was the fact that if you want, you can technically write your own custom renderer to use the syntax of React and the reactivity model of React to basically render to the terminal. For example, there is Ink, which is a popular library that allows you to write terminal application with React. Or, for example, there is React Native, which I think is
that's probably the most
the biggest example.
The biggest
rendering React to a native application, so either Swift or Android.
It's quite interesting in general, like custom renders. You mentioned like a terminal. You wouldn't really think about, oh, should I use React for a terminal? And then there's also like other stuff. Like I used to look with envy on this thing called Remotion, which is basically React rendering to video, which is very cool, right? So you could programmatically create videos.
There's also a docx renderer, like for Word docs and for like PDFs, I think. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, like the point is you are using the library, the framework, the UI framework as a bit of a templating language, because, for example, a PDF is not reactive at all. So like you are literally just using the templating language, but it is the templating language that you are familiar with, Svelte, in case you can actually introduce a bit of reactivity, like in the terminal, you might listen for input, for example. So like when the user types something and you want to re-render a part of the application. And the terminal is actually quite flexible if you think about it, because like you can do some very crazy things. Like we've seen now with like the advent of agents, and like, for example, I think Cloud Code initially was, I don't know if it's already, but some of these are actually built with React Ink. Because obviously, like you can build this nice UI, like with the input that is actually a box and not just something in your terminal. And because again, with ANSI code, which is the one things that you are using, you can basically log some strings that like renders an UI inside your terminal. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, like some examples of that are like htop on Linux, like so you could see a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. And so, basically, that is the concept of a custom renderer. And Svelte, at this moment, unfortunately, does not have one, like does not have the capability at all. Because, like, there are multiple reasons why there is no this capability. One of these reasons is that, especially with Svelte 5, this is, like, I think it's a very nice, like, interject, like a very nice like side quest, but and this, by the way, is the PR that we already merged into Svelte. So up until a certain version, which I'm gonna search, but basically Svelte 5 uses a very clever trick, in my opinion, to render your component. So I don't know if you ever like sneaked into the output of a Svelte component, like the actual JavaScript that it's compiled when you run a JavaScript. But if you have done it, you would notice that there is a JavaScript file, and then there is a call at the top level of the module, which is something like $.template. Now is $.fromString, but the point is, inside this template, there is a string, which is basically all the static part of your component. So like if you have button with some variable, then an h1 and stuff like that, all these things are all part of this string, basically, that is passed to this template function. And obviously, like the reason why we need something like that is because when you mount your component to the DOM, you need to create all of these elements, right?
Yep.
So if you would do something like that in vanilla JavaScript, for example, you would do something like document.createElement h1, and then document.createElement p, and then p.textContent is equal to hello world, and then h1.append p, and stuff like that. So like it's a very, but an easier way to do it, and also faster way to do it, is using the template element. The template element is part of the web component API. And so in the template element, what you can do is that you can write some HTML directly into your HTML if you want. And it will not render to the DOM. It will just basically be a container that you can fetch, and then you can clone the input, and everything inside it's already created for you by the HTML parser of the browser. So it's very fast. And so what Svelte is doing under the hood is that when you have, it builds this string, it then basically creates a template tag in memory, it's set inner HTML, and then it returns the content of the template. And so basically this is an easy way for you to convert from a string to an actual bunch of elements that actually you can put into the DOM.
So the template element never shows up in the DOM?
The template element doesn't show up in the DOM, regardless. But in this case, it is not even that, it's never even close to the DOM. Like it's literally a template element in memory that then you set the inner HTML, and then we just use that element to extract all the elements inside. Wow. Now, this is very, it's nice. It's a nice trick. It's fast, and it's better. He had a couple of problems. The problem, number one, is that there are some CSP policies that don't allow you to use inner HTML at all. So we had some issue actually open because there were people that will not be able to use Svelte 5 because Svelte 5 is using inner HTML. So even if nobody in their code was using inner HTML, Svelte was doing it, and the CSP policy was saying, you can do that. And so
I wonder what the reason is for that.
Well, because inner HTML is very prone to XSS attack, right?
That's why you get the dangerously used HTML.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Right. This is not a problem for Svelte, obviously, because the string that is passed to inner HTML is something that we build. So it's not something.
Right. Yeah.
It does not have any user input at all. So it is fine to do. But obviously, some CSP policies are very strict about it. And so this was a problem for some people, but most importantly for the Svelte custom renderer stuff, it was a problem because in the terminal, there's no template element. So there's no way to create an element that when created and when you set the inner HTML, it would be very complex. For example, Svelte native, which is another way to build a native application with Svelte, it is monkey patching document.createElement, basically.
Right.
But that doesn't work anymore in Svelte 5. So the first step that we did, so first thing first, I should say why the first thing that we did was because at Mainmatter, we love to give back to open source in general. And we especially do that for technologies that we use. So with Svelte, we use Svelte, we want to give back to the Svelte ecosystem. And so when we stopped to think and we said, okay, what can we do for the Svelte ecosystem? We started to think about the things that we were talking with our clients, for example, and some of our clients was actually saying okay, but I want to use Svelte, but what if I need an app, for example?
Right.
And so there was this issue laying around. And so a few months ago at this point, there was a new framework that showed up, which is called Lynx.js. And Lynx.js is basically I think it's from ByteDance, which is the company behind TikTok. Yep. And they market it as the alternative to React Native, but framework agnostic. So obviously everybody got really excited about this, just to realize that for Svelte, we couldn't actually use it because it kind of requires a custom renderer API of some sort. And so when we were talking, what can we do for the Svelte ecosystem, we actually stumbled across this opportunity and we say, okay, let's do it. And so for a couple of months, I think 3 months actually, I actually worked full time on Svelte, on the Svelte custom.
Oh, nice.
So like I was able to work with it, and I was actually able to get a pretty good POC of that. So like we spent a lot of the time also talking with the other maintainers to like figuring out the actual API for it, right?
So in terms of, so maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but like, so the problem is we have to separate like the renderer from Svelte's diffing functionality, right? So then does that mean that instead of using, so I don't remember who I was talking to about this, but it was Elliot. So we did a stream, I think last week, about the hydrate functionality. And he mentioned, I think, if I remember correctly, that Svelte used to be just a string thing. But
he was talking about the server side, though, which is a bit different.
Right. Oh, I see.
On the server,
gotcha.
Svelte basically do that. Like it takes all of your component. It before the async stuff, it was just literally concatenating a big string and returning that string.
But I was going to say now there's an AST involved, right? So
probably like there's always an AST involved with the Svelte compiler because like it's an AST and then converting to JavaScript. But the server side, I don't think it's using the AST. I think the only thing that Elliot had to do to make async SSR work is that it needs to be a bit more involved than just concatenating strings because there's something that you are waiting for and something that you are going through, and then obviously you don't want to await for every single thing.
Gotcha.
You only await, like if you have two components that are parallel, you want to start the fetch at the same time. So that's why it's a bit more involved than just a string concatenation on the server. But yeah, like it's obviously like right now on the server side, it's a bit more complex. On the client side, right now, like by default, Svelte will still use the template tricks that I was talking because that's just faster and much more convenient. But one of the first things that we did once we settled on some sort of API. So we talked a bit with Rich and like with the other to say, okay, what kind of API do we want for the custom renderer API? Once we settled on a sort of API, we said, okay, there is one problem now that all our templates are literally just string, like the static part of the template, it's a string that we pass to template. We can't do that because we need to basically, I don't want to say to invoke document.create element, but we need a point where we can create an element and then set the text and then stuff like that. And so what we did is that the first thing that also fixed the bug about the CSP was the compiler option that I contributed to the Svelte compiler. And because basically right now what you can do is that you can pass a compiler option, and instead of creating this long string that then is passed into the template, it's actually creating an object, which is kind of similar to the React object, but we don't have a virtual DOM anyway, don't worry. But basically, it's creating this structure that then under the hood actually creates does a bunch of document.create element, document.set text, document. And stuff like that. So it's doing all of this programmatically, and this means that for the CSP problem, you are not accessing inner HTML anymore. For the custom renderer problem, we now have a place where we can put our call into your code, because that's kind of an issue, right? Like the custom renderer is something that you, the user, would have to define, and you would have to provide like your way to render a Svelte code.
Yeah.
And to do so, it means that we need a place where the framework can call your custom renderer so that it creates your element, basically.
Yeah. You mentioned, I don't know, maybe you didn't mention it while we were recording, but you made a proof of concept, right?
Yeah. So after we basically merged this PR, I started actually working on the implementation itself. And so what we ended up with is something that basically you as a user can pass a compiler option. Obviously, like the API can still change until,
of course,
if we actually get to when we actually
just put it in experimental.
Yeah,
it's fine.
The API can actually change, obviously, but the idea is that you will define a module, and from that module you will export your renderer. And so once you export your renderer, you define your renderer by defining an object that contains a bunch of operations. So like you will need to define how to create a fragment, a document fragment in your system, how to create an element in your system, how to set the text, how to set an attribute, how to like add a child, how to get the parent, how to get the next sibling, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once we have that under the hood, we just basically invoke your function instead of doing document.createElement. So basically, when you define a custom renderer, and the definition will probably be something like you just define the module where we can import it. And so when you do that, so that can be a module in your application. So like technically, you could even like define your own custom renderer in line. But more often than not, very likely what you would do is just, I don't know, install a custom renderer from a package, and then you literally have the package as the custom renderer. And so when you do that, by default, Svelte will basically change the runtime, because there's also another issue with the Svelte runtime, which is the Svelte runtime, obviously, it's hyper-optimized for the DOM. So there are a lot of places where we actually use some trick, because the DOM is hella weird. So like, it is silly, but for example, if you want to completely remove every element from an element, right? Mm-hmm. You can do document.remove, 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 but you
sounds like a lot of work.
Document.textContent is equal to empty string, and that's it. So like, if you do something like this, it would be much faster, like even computationally. And so the normal runtime of Svelte, I think, is only fair that it stays as performant as it is. Yeah. But this means that there are some other stuff that basically cannot happen outside of the DOM.
Right.
And so something that we settled pretty early on was that we will basically rebuild a small version of the runtime, because there's also another interesting bit, is that like if you are using a custom renderer, you probably don't need hydration, because the custom renderer, like there's no concept of server-side rendering for the terminal or for for a native stuff. And so since you don't need hydration, we can basically like wipe off all the hydration code from the custom runtime, and so make stuff a bit lighter and easier to maintain on the other side. And so the work that I started doing it is basically, okay, let me start to rewrite the runtime so that it's entangled, like it's completely detached from the DOM. And we can actually start using it. And so I wrote a couple of I rewrote, I think, the each block, the if block, the key block, all these blocks. I rewrote it already. I also rewrote part of the element runtime, basically, so the things that actually creates the element. And once I've done that, I was actually able to, I started the POC, and I actually got a Lynx application working. So it was a bit more involved on the Lynx side. So because in Lynx, you basically have this, they are called the element API, so that you can basically call to create a Lynx element. And it's kind of similar to the DOM, like you can literally do __ create element, and you pass you have a list of elements that you can create in Lynx. So you can create text, you can create I think view, text and view are the one that are very interesting, very useful, and then it will create an element in Lynx. And so I've built a small to-do app in Lynx, and it actually worked. After that, so unfortunately, after 3 months of working on it, we kind of ran out of funds for doing it. We had a set budget to do it. So actually, right now, we are looking for funding for that. So if you are interested, by the way, if you or any of your companies are interested in building a native app, or even just I don't know, for example, we have been talking with people that maybe they have a custom WebGL runtime and they would love to use Svelte as a templating language. And so they are interested in, we actually got a bit of, we got our first sponsor recently. So, but if you are interested, you can go to sveltecustomrenderers.com to learn more, and you can contact us, and we can bring this to the finish line together.
How far are you? Do you need 3 more months or a year, or?
I think we kind of estimated it around 4 or 5 months. So it's not super far, because I think already the POC was enough to be, but obviously there is a lot more to do, because first thing first, something that I need to bring the branch up to date with today's Svelte, and that will be a challenge a bit, because obviously there is the async stuff. There's also a new system to manage branches. There's also a new system to manage each blocks and stuff like that. So a lot of changes changed since I last worked on this. So I need to bring it to the up to date. There is also a bit more, which is right now the client runtime, which is what we are really interested in. So the reason why you might want to use Svelte to build a terminal application is because you want the Svelte signal runtime to power the changes behind your terminal. Now the client runtime is kind of baked in physically, the files that contains the client runtime are all inside the client folder, basically, which means that there is a bunch of circular imports, and some of these circular inputs go back to some module that access the document.media query, for example, at the top level. So when I tried to build the Lynx the Lynx custom renderer, I basically had to surgically remove every import that was leading back to that. But obviously that will not be maintainable. So some other work that I will need to do once we are able to work a bit more on this is that I need to take the runtime and move it in its own shared module so that it's detached from any document API.
That would work too. I was going to say you need some kind of alias system or something that would change the imports.
Yeah, but it's much better to even for future for future-proof the code base. We want the runtime to be completely in its own module so that we can actually access it from both runtime.
So I'm wondering, what does the authoring experience look like? Let's say you build this custom renderer with Lynx, and you have iOS and Android. In React DOM and in Svelte you use div and p and whatever HTML elements, but in React Native you use view and text. What would you use in Svelte Lynx?
So this, I think, it's one of the nicest part of the custom renderer API is that you kind of get to choose what you want to do. So the custom renderer that I've built for Lynx, I actually use the same API that they have for the Lynx React Lynx. And so in React Lynx and in my custom renderer, you would need to do view, text, and stuff like that. So it's kind of similar to React Native, except that those are actually elements. In React Native, you need to import the component and use the component and stuff like that. While with Lynx, with Svelte Lynx, my Svelte Lynx thing, I actually did it so that you can just use, just like you would do div, you would do view and stuff like that.
How does the IDE and or the types handle that at all?
In terms of the IDE sees it as just
a named div, right?
Yeah, it's just like
I see.
it's technically a custom element because
Oh
it's
yeah, of course.
like everything. Like if you in the HTML, like in the DOM, if you do /view, it's a custom element. It's not a web component, but it is a custom element. So like that's how you see it. Obviously, we could also think about some more like deep integration. I think probably I actually haven't tried this yet, but I think that you can actually do. Like we can probably do like interface merging with a .v.ts, so you can just reference a .v.ts that then augment the types that Svelte already provides for the DOM, and so you should be able to also get some auto-completion if you want. Obviously, that will be related to the custom renderer creator. That's the like. But the nice part is that you can actually come up with your own way to name stuff. That's the nice thing. Like technically, and for example, in the Vue integrate, like when Lynx came out, a lot of frameworks tried to build an integration with it. And there are some PR that I actually used as a reference for Solid and Vue, for example. And for example, in Vue, what they did is that they related some element in the HTML word into some Lynx element. So like what you could do is that if you see div, you assume that div is a view. If you see text, assume that like if you see span, you assume that span is a text. And again, the nice thing is that since you are the one responsible to create the element, you can do pretty much whatever you want. So like you can come up with your own syntax. In the meantime, I can already tell you that, like, obviously, this will probably depend on the recipient of the custom renderer. So, like, for example, Lynx can actually render your thing to Android, iOS.
Yeah. So basically, writing one template is very nice, right? Because you get to write once instead of 3 times, right? Or 2 times for Lynx and HTML, right? Is there some thoughts about like letting the user write multiple things at the same time? So let's say you have a project and you want to create both a DOM target, if you will, and then also a Lynx target.
So a build
but you kind of want
to do both.
Yeah, and you want to share maybe the reactivity of it, but the templating you might.
So I think that I would need to think a bit about this, but I think like depending on how you structure it, it can probably work in both ways. So I guess the problem is really that it depends on the kind of custom renderer that you build. Like at that point, it's more on your side than on the
I could see there being a compiler with compiler options that you can feed your options to, and then it compiling it just like we do with Svelte. Like we have compiler options. We can build the package. You could do this with that too. It could build a package for the DOM and build a package for native.
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, so like, I know there's a project called LiveView Native in like the Elixir world, and they went the route of so Elixir is a framework built on Phoenix LiveView is a framework built on Elixir, and LiveView Native is built on top of Phoenix or rather LiveView, and they let you write templates depending on what you want to target. And then it kind of reuses the same logic. It's not really. I suppose it could be a custom renderer in a sense, but I'm kind of asking like I want to bring multiple templates into the same space kind of and reuse the script tag, for example. Like obviously, like you can extract your logic into like state classes and stuff and put them in a separate module and then import them. But I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So I was working with Grisha, which is the creator of Threlte, which obviously, like for example,
would be nice with a custom renderer there.
Yeah, React 3 Fiber, which is what is the 3JS version of React, is actually using a React renderer under the hood. And so I was talking with Grisha, because obviously I asked him for feedback on this feature because it could be interesting for him. And he actually says something like that. So like right now, basically, you have to kind of compile one custom renderer, like one component, at least one component. It needs to know that it wants, like that you want to compile with custom renderer. So like you cannot do it at runtime, as I was saying, like because the compilation is literally different from one to the other, because it needs to import the different runtime, it needs to import your custom renderer, it needs to store your custom renderer somewhere, because it needs to reuse that when you like trigger an effect, for example. So like before triggering an effect, we need to reset the custom renderer and then adding it again. So because of this, it means that like you can't really have in the same component two different custom renderers, right? So the solution would be to like move that code into a separate component and render that component with a different custom renderer. That could work. Obviously, it depends on the kind of renderer that we are talking about. Like if the final target is still the DOM, like with Threlte, for example, you would still render to a canvas or to, like it's still in the DOM environment. So probably one can work with the other. If your custom renderer is accessing the Lynx API, obviously it cannot in any way or form mix with the DOM, so like that will it's mostly on the custom renderer side again. But the fact that you will like, this is what actually one of the input from Grisha is that he wanted a way to seamless move from one custom renderer to the other without having to create a separate component, without having to do that. We actually thought a bit about that. We didn't actually settle that part. So like that's something that we were working on. Like we are thinking if there is a way to do it. That's the point. Because I think if you have a clear mark inside your component, it could work, but we'll need to see.
Yeah.
That brought up another question that I had. Are you looking for financial support just for you and Mainmatter to work on this project, or is this for like Svelte maintainers, or is it open to like everyone to be able to help and contribute to it?
Oh, obviously, like everybody can help to like and contribute. We are looking specifically for funding because I honestly tried to work on this on my free time. But it is a big project. Like it's very difficult to. I don't have much free time, and it's also like it's a very big change, and so like the reason why we are looking for funding is because I need to be able to work on it full time. Like even when I was working on it full time, like we were doing progress, and we actually did a lot of progress because obviously we were able to merge the first PR and then to building the POC and stuff like that. But it was still like it would probably also takes a lot of time to complete.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm out of questions. Jeppe, Brittany?
No, it's super awesome. I want to see this tomorrow. So
maybe
whenever you release this.
Yeah. I mean, again, like if like something that could help, like obviously I know that like not everybody works for a company that is building a native app, for example, and not everybody is building terminal application. But if you know of any companies that might be interested in this, we tried to reach out to some company, and we are actually talking with some company, and we actually got our first sponsor. So like we luckily got the first sponsor. So actually a bit of work is actually happening right now. What will happen in the immediate future is that probably I will try to bring the branch up to date with the funding that we got. And once I got that, I should, no promise, but I should be able to at least keep it up to date, because at Mainmatter we also have like basically 20% of our time we can do open source. And so if I can do open source in my 20% time, I might be able, once I build this I bring the branch up to date, and then after I do that, we can I can try to keep it on par, so that when we get new funding, we can actually immediately jump into it and start working on it.
Make progress quickly. Right.
And so what I was saying is that if you have any company that might be interested, please send them to sveltecustomrenderers.com so that we can.
I'll put it in the show notes. So in summary, basically, the first work that needs to happen is bring the branch up to date, but then it's not so much about writing custom renderers yet, right? It's more about making it ready for anyone to write a custom renderer.
Yeah, exactly. So the main goal of this initiative is basically bring the custom renderer API to Svelte itself. Yeah. The moment we have something in Svelte, then we can literally everybody can write a custom renderer. And I have to say, by the way, maybe it is because I am I wrote the actual code underlying that. But I have to say that they are decently easy to build. At the end of the day, it didn't took me much time to build the terminal renderer and the Lynx.
Yeah. I mean, you would just have to handle so in the example of Lynx, you're kind of offloading the complexity of creating native apps to Lynx, right? So you don't have to think about how do you do this in iOS, right? Because Lynx will handle that for you. But theoretically, you could write an iOS renderer or something that would output.
Technically, write an iOS renderer that just renders into Swift elements, for example. Yeah,
exactly. But then you would need to do work around that to actually make it into an application.
Something very nice about Lynx is that they have a very good CSS support. So when you build a custom renderer for Lynx, I was able to use Flex, Grid, even you can.
Oh wow.
You can run Tailwind inside Lynx.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm sold.
I didn't write anything of that. Lynx did all the job. So the only thing that I did is write the code so that when you, write a style tag, you actually get the CSS for that. And Lynx handle all of that.
That's awesome.
By the way, I want to also shout out our first founders, because it's Subco that actually came in and gave us a bit of funding for working on this, and so with this funding we can actually start working a bit on bringing in the branch up to date, and so.
So this brings me to another question. Yes. Why does a supplement company need a custom renderer?
They are using Svelte, and probably I don't know if they are using Svelte, but they want to use.
They want to use Svelte. Okay,
have a native app.
Maybe you can create a renderer that creates supplements.
Yeah, you can probably.
So you can declaratively define.
I want to code in a 3D printer with Svelte.
A couple of companies that I worked for would have chosen Svelte long term if they had that as an option. Yeah. That has been a deterrent of keeping Svelte around.
Yeah, that's also why we started working on this, because we have seen clients asking, but does Svelte have a solution for granted? Sorry, I just want to say this because I'm very keen on this. If I have to build an app for myself or for developers, I will 100% go with PWAs.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm just going to say that I would just build a web app over native. Period.
We talked. I think we talked about this with Ilya a couple of weeks ago when we talked about. I mentioned Stanislav. He showed a proof of concept thing with animations and stuff, like a stack thing with a progressive web app, basically like a Twitter clone. Mm-hmm. And it felt like he showed it on his phone, and it feels like native.
It feels native. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, really cool.
I guess what PWA can do today, but Like, it's true, like nowadays the web is very powerful and you can do a lot of stuff. The only issue, in my opinion, for PWAs to really have adoption is the fact that you cannot install them from the App Store.
Yeah, it's a distribution part. Like
it's
you
just
need to get in there.
Yeah.
It's just discovery, and also the fact that like they feel more fishy to the main user. Like for developers, it's absolutely fine. Like I will never build if I'm building a product for developers, I will never build an app. But if I'm building a product for like my mother will never install a PWA.
What do you mean? You don't want to like open the share menu, scroll to bookmark the home screen or whatever the option is? No. Yeah, no.
But
no,
I also,
totally.
I mean, I think there's an important piece of the puzzle here is that I don't think people want to build their own custom renderer. They probably don't care even. What they want is to be able to write native apps in Svelte.
Yeah.
And whatever gets them there is what we'll be like happy about, and everyone in the ecosystem, right?
As I was saying, like most likely people will actually just install a custom renderer and use that custom renderer. But it is very nice that you can actually build your own pretty simple, because maybe you have some custom solution that you need. And I was talking before with this team that they have already WebGL renderer that they are using. And basically they've built their own DSL to interact with it, and they hate it. And they would love to be able to write a Svelte component that then render to their WebGL renderer. And that will unlock them to do it.
Yeah, very exciting. Like, I feel like this would be like, this should probably be like a higher priority. Like from an outside perspective in looking at like the Svelte, whatever people are doing inside of the Svelte project, like this is one of the key issues, right, for adoption for Svelte. Even if, because it's like Brittany said, like, oh, long term, maybe we want an application. How are we going to? Oh no, we can't. Oh, we'll pick React, right? That's how it goes. So I think. I wish it was higher priority. Like personally, I would just spend some of the open collective money on this. But
yeah, I mean, there's also talking about that, obviously. There is because we do have an open collective, and there are a bit of like money on it. So like we will probably like also use part of that.
It's better to use the money than not use it, right? Because now it's just sitting there and earning interest for open collective.
But I mean, it's also true that like they pros and cons needs to be good for, because
there's a
own to the people that actually donate. But I agree.
Yeah, it's like it's an opportunity cost as well. Like if you spend money on the custom renderer stuff, you can't spend money on something else. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk unpopular opinions. Do you guys have one? Anthony is not here. He usually has one, but we'll have to do without.
So I mean, I don't know. I finally bit the bullet and switched from Android to Apple, and I have an iPhone now. And I guess, I don't know, there are things I cannot stand about Apple and iPhones. And it drives me absolutely crazy that the iPad keyboard that I have has this ability to hold a key and then you swipe up or down like you're scrolling on it, and you get like your special characters, you get your numbers, like whatever you're on, you get whatever's on the upper part of it. That doesn't exist on iPhone, and the keyboard is like the worst keyboard ever. Oh, wow. And like I installed Gboard, which is like what I was using on Google Android, and it doesn't have any of my savings type. It doesn't know that I'm vulgar, so I typed in shit and it autocorrected shoot. Like all the stupid things, and it's driving me crazy. I need a keyboard that functions for Apple.
Yeah. So what made you switch to?
So I switched because family permissions. So we're actually giving our kids phones for Christmas. Verizon, one of the companies here in the U.S. had free phones. So we got a new service that has all of us on it. We're getting them phones, and family permissions. It's always been a hassle because my husband will have to approve it, or I'll have to get my iPad to approve it. And it's just, it's been annoying.
I think in the US is very, like, iPhone is basically almost a necessity, right?
It is like 90 something percent, I think, of the ecosystem. But I have been a diehard Samsung user since like the Note 3. Like I had a Samsung 24 Ultra and
So your unpopular opinion is iPhone sucks, basically.
no, it's the iPhone keyboards.
iPhone keyboards.
suck. I like a lot of things about the Apple phone much better. Like all these extra buttons it has now. It has one to open the camera and I can double click for wallet. And then I have one that turns my flashlight on without me doing anything. Like I just push a button. That's nice. But
Is that a thing?
Keyboard. Mine has it. I have the new phone though. I have the 17 Max Pro. But there's an action button that you can set for the flashlight. There's a new button that opens the camera.
Yeah.
I like a lot of things. It's the keyboard is freaking terrible.
It's interesting you say this because I was actually thinking about completely getting rid of all my Apple stuff, just going Android and Linux. But I realize as I've been thinking about it, it's just like, no, it's going to be too much work.
I would have never bet to ever hear this sentence from you.
It was much easier for me to switch than I thought it was going to be. I thought the transition out of the ecosystem was going to be the worst, but Google transfers. So Gmail, like calendar, all of that's on my iPhone. I didn't have to do that. So the thing I had to do was cancel Google One. That's it.
Talking of switches, I tried to switch from VS Code to Z. And I was I think it's nice. Like it is very nice and it's fast and but there are a few things that I like really enjoy about VS Code and that are really part of my workflow. I could never get rid of them, and so I switch back. Okay.
All right. Unpopular opinions? Anyone?
I think I have one. That might be unpopular, maybe it's popular. I think it sounds unpopular, but I actually like writing my thoughts down in Notion. I know you're not allowed to say that out loud. You have to write in Markdown files or Obsidian or whatever. But I like Notion, when you get it under your skin, it stops getting in the way of you, and it just helps you continue. Notion is also one of the few apps. Well, not one of the few, but it doesn't yet autocomplete with some AI suggestions, so it doesn't take me out of the flow. It just lets me write. And that whole formatting thing, like, it just works for me. But I also get, like, if you don't understand the keyboard shortcuts, if you don't understand the whole code blocks versus headings versus whatever, then it's super annoying. But
do you do it on the web, or have you used the app?
No, it's the app. It's the app. I actually don't know if there's a difference.
I was going to agree with you that the web version is fine, but then as soon as I used the app, it would like jump around on me. Like I would try to select something and it wouldn't. Maybe it was because it was the Android version of the app. Maybe I need to try the iPhone.
Yeah, well, the Android app is meh. That is, it does some weird stuff.
So maybe that was the reason. Maybe I should try the Apple
Mac
version.
app. Yeah.
No, but I did like it on the web.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I really don't like autosave. Is it unpopular?
What? Interesting. Well, it depends. So, depends on what you mean by autosave, though.
On, like, format on save.
Format on save, I love it. But autosave, no. I will never.
Oh, no.
I will never autosave.
I don't do autosave either.
Well, when would you autosave? Like, what does autosave mean for you? Like when you
save on
close
blur,
the tab?
right? When you
basically like
blur
have autosave. So like as soon as you stop writing, it saves.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Oh, whoa, what?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and I actually got this because I had to write a tiny bit of Rust. I don't know Rust, right? But I was surprised by the fact that in Rust, you don't get errors in the editor until you save the file. Which
interesting.
To me, it's wild. Like I was there and I was seeing like squiggly lines on part of the code that was not there because I just changed it. And I talked with a colleague that obviously like we also specialize in Rust. So like he's a Rust developer. And I said like, do you really not like get like errors and warnings and stuff until you save. And he said, yeah, but I mean, I have autosave on, so like I always.
That's the solution.
They would need it if they have that. Then
Yeah. That's weird.
Oh wow. Save on idle? I've never heard of that. Like that sounds super annoying, but I would definitely always buy save on blur.
So save on blur is when you switch away from the tab.
When you switch to the browser, then it saves, or when you switch tab, then it saves, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a setup where when we had like lint on save, and then the linter was, oh, there's an unused variable here. I'm gonna delete that. And so if you wrote the variable but didn't use it yet because like you had to read documentation,
There's
was
also
so
another
annoying.
issue is that like I think I'm at this point I suspect it's my fault, to be fair, because like I contribute a lot on open source, right? So like obviously I work a lot on Svelte, but I also contribute a lot on open source. And every single time I work on an open source project, like the moment I save, like it's almost like their prettier config is not like a thing. Like either they misconfigured it or I have something in my editor set up wrongly, and I always change so much of the of the editor. So like the moment
I do that too.
the moment I have to contribute to some other open source project, I always do like I do my changes and then I save without format. And
Save without formatting. I do that when I have to touch other people's files because we even have a prettier config set up, but I don't think the other developer that works on the project runs format or lint or anything ever. And so I go in there and it will have like the entire page is changed and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's That's not fun.
We need a CI that like just auto formats and lints everything, but it would have to be ran once through everything.
I mean, there is, right? There's like a bunch of the stuff that you can do, like a Husky.
Oh yeah.
Is
yeah, Husky
thing.
and
It's not CI though. I mean, you could.
Husky is pre-commit-hook.
Husky does
yeah, exactly.
Unpopular opinion. I don't think you should have pre-commit-hook. I don't know if it's unpopular.
Yeah, I don't know. And, all right, unpopular opinions. Now it's picks. I have a pick. So I am gonna pick Screen Studio. Found it today. I needed to record Advent of Svelte day 4. And I was in a hurry, and I found Screen Studio, and it's a really nice application. Basically, lets you record your screen and your cameras and everything, and then it lets you edit afterwards. And it has these really nice zoom animations. I think Paolo loves them.
I think they are very nice. I just think that unpopular opinion. I hate it. No, because I think a lot of people on the web uses this, and like some people really go bonkers with zoom animations from thing, and so like they move them around and like the whole application shifts left and right, and it's very annoying.
I've been using Screen Studio for years. I love it, but also the first action I do whenever I open a new recording is to disable those zoom things.
Yeah. So you don't like the Advent of Svelte day 4 either, then?
I mostly looked at your face to not get disoriented. No, so a few weeks ago I had to record a video of myself, like not the screen at all, and I chose to record that with Screen Studio just because I wanted the editing features.
Right. Yeah, that's good. All right, that's my pick. Anyone? No picks?
I'm trying to think of something.
Not a lot of good in the world this week.
You said my microphone is terrible, so I was maybe going to pick these headphones, but these are the Beats Studio Pro headphones for like noise canceling and sound quality. They're amazing, but apparently the microphone is so.
I mean, it's good enough.
It's good enough.
It's not a studio microphone, but I would be surprised if it was.
Advent of Svelte.
That's a good pick. That is a very good pick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Advent of Svelte. Yeah. Jeppe, do you have one?
I mean, if we're doing insider picks, I would choose TMCP.
Oh,
because I'm working a lot on a storybook MCP at the moment. I've been for a month, and it's based on TMCP, which is this framework that Paolo is building. and that is just a billion times better than the original official MCP SDK. So it's joy to work with. It also helps, of course, that I can just ping Paolo and he'll fix stuff. But it's like the API is better, the docs are better. It's just, if you're doing MCP stuff, use TMCP, even if you don't use Svelte.
I'll slide like the 20 euro.
Nice. All right. I think that's everything for today. Thank you, Paolo, for joining us. And again, welcome, Jeppe, as a new host.
Thank you.
Brittany, hello.
I am bi.
Sorry, what?
I am bi. Like, we're
yeah.
saying goodbye.
Yeah. Definitely go find Paolo and fund this custom render stuff, because I also want custom renders.
Yeah.
And with that said, goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.